From the City of Angels, you are listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On today's episode, headlines from the world of futurism, so let me strike the music, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Engage.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
No, I am the father.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
And what's up, my fellow Americans? What's up, my fellow savages? Welcome to the James Salazar Media Podcast. I am your host, James Salazar, where you get your monthly dose, weekly dose, bi-weekly dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism. As you know, today we are going to talk about some futurism. We're going to read some headlines, try to get you caught back up on what's going on in technology and science and space travel. So, hold on to your hats and glasses, because here we go. And number one, the Pentagon wants a Sentinel satellite to determine space warfare. The Pentagon wants to launch a small network of surveillance satellites high into orbit, where they can be able to spot and trace any acts of aggression in outer space. These three satellites, dreamed up by the Space Development Agency, would be able to automatically navigate outside the geosynchronous orbit, where they would be able to peer down on any missile or hostile satellites launched into space by another country. While the satellites themselves would not be armed, yeah, right, the Pentagon hopes they would deter space warfare by making it hard for bad actors to get away with aggressive acts. Idealized scenario, the satellites would spot and approach potential hostile satellites as it was launched into space. They would then identify what country or agency had launched them, and that it would be used for or with as evidence. So, and then shoot it down with a laser, most likely. So it's probably already being done. It's probably getting ready to be launched already. It's probably whenever you see something the American government wants to do, it's most likely already been done and ready to go. This is just a little heads up, just in case something gets leaked that we sort of knew about it anyways. So, but I would consider it highly unlikely they wouldn't put weapons on it, unless they're really small and the weapon they could attach to it wouldn't make a difference anyways. But if they have enough room on there, you better darn bet. Better darn bet. That's a better word. Bet to dimes to dollar that the American government is going to put a weapon on it. UK watchdog is worried government will deploy lip reading on CCTV. Surveillance watchdogs in United Kingdom are worried about the government deploying CCTV cameras equipped with lip reading and gait analyzing artificial intelligence. The capability to run lip sync technology to determine what people are saying would have a very suppressive effect, and it would change the nature of our society. He predicts George Orwell predicts in 1984, he predicts that residents will soon cover their mouths when speaking, least the government is listening on them and whatever they say. You know, the mob used to do that. If you look at the FBI when they were trying to surveil the mob, they would all put like a cigar or a cigarette in their mouth and have their hand cover their mouths, and they will be talking to each other just because they think, or probably most likely the FBI were using human lip readers to find out what they were saying. So this is nothing new. It's just that AI would do it more efficiently. But I think even today that but once again, you need a warrant from a judge for the FBI to surveil you that way. So at least I think, or to tap your phone wires, right? They need a judge to allow them to tap your phone lines, but not to surveil you. They just need someone from the top of the FBI to allow it to happen. And as they surveil you from across the street, or in a car or in a van, they usually probably had lip readers to try to read what the mob was saying or any criminal was saying. And I think the mob was ahead of their time, knowing that this is how they're going to gather information against them. But now, you don't need actual foots on the ground. You have a TV, CCTV, and a artificial intelligence reading your lip while you're walking down the street, telling your friend, he says, hey, let's go shoot this fool. I'm tired of him. They see that. The artificial intelligence flags them. The CCTV starts following them. And about a month ago now, we read that artificial intelligence is reading the movement of your eye, because the movement of your eye is just as unique as your fingerprint. So we're going to see people, and also there is also cameras that were able to read if you're in distress or nervous. So all these in combination, you can see this guy whose heat levels are high. Why is his heat levels high? Let's start looking into his eyes and find out who he is. Look into his eyes. That's this person right here. What is he saying? Is he mumbling to himself? I hate all these people. I hate all these black people. I hate all these white people. I hate all these Asians or whatever. I want to shoot up my school. He starts to read that. Flags that person. Now, there's a good reason for it. But as society accepts this type of surveillance upon their lives on every day, there will be laws accompanying it. And we probably should have cameras around schools, high-tech artificial intelligent cameras around schools, trying to detect a bad actor immediately. That as soon as the artificial finds someone that is troubling, you can lock down the school before he can get in. If you can see him coming down the street or getting out of a car, call the police, have one or two well-trained teachers or principals or security guards know where he's coming from and be able to defend if they have to, if this guy's trying to shoot into the school for whatever reason. I mean, I think CCTV should be in major cities everywhere. I don't think they should be in the suburbs. I think when you're in a major city like that, the police can't handle the load of crime. And it needs to focus on the most egregious crimes happening in its city. So, and believe me, if we're able to diagnose, if we're able to find out people who are willing pre-crime based on their behavior analyzed by artificial intelligence, we'll need more cops because we're going to be able to deter more crime. But all this does is set up a world where if our robot overlords want to take us on, they'll be able to do it very quickly, be able to analyze any disruptors in societies that might not care for artificial intelligence ruling and controlling and analyzing our lives. So, all right, so those are just thoughts about that. NASA officially activates its GPS for deep space. GPS satellites we rely on Earth aren't quite as helpful once you leave Earth, let alone Earth's orbit. An atomic clock is a device that measures the distance between two objects by measuring the time it takes for the signal to travel to one from another down to a nanosecond. The longer it takes, the further away you are. So, GPS satellites also rely on atomic clocks, but on, say, Mars, the signal from those satellites would take far too long to come from Earth, up to 40 minutes, depending upon the planet's current position. So if we have it in that they can always know how far the ship is going, how far it is. And it'll probably be really hard to find them in the sky from Earth. But if they're in constant communication with this GPS, we will know how far they are from Mars and any other distant celestial body in our solar system. I guess that's cool. These robots could one day explore caves in distant planets. The Defense Advanced Research Project Agency Subterranean Challenge is kicking off today, challenging robot teams from across the nation to rapidly map, navigate, and search dynamic underground environments. So, if you look at the picture, they're like it's like a computer in the middle. It looks weird, and they're all different, and they all have wheels. One's a ball, one's a like a tank, and the other one. But it seems like the common design is like a wheel, two wheels around like a computer system. And I guess they're gonna try to test out Earth. I mean, we still don't know what's in our caverns completely. Especially underwater caverns, there's a lot to be discovered. So they're encouraging people to create them. And hopefully we come out with some great data from that. So here's some things that has been pretty scary. These deep fake videos. A couple of them are done with Joe Rogan. Some of them was done by... and they're scary. There's one where Tom Cruise. I mean, they look realistic. There's one with Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, and all his comedian friends, and he's Dr. Evil. It looks real and funny as hell. You have to watch it if you gotta look for it. But these new AI systems make it troublingly easy to create deep fakes. This is going to be great for movie stars that have died, like the kid who died in Star Trek. I forget his name. Hold on, I'm going to get that for you. Anton Yelchin as Chekhov. You know, he died in real life. his own car ran him over. He went to go open the gate at his house, and he didn't know his car started rolling towards him without him knowing, and hit him and pinned him against his gate. And no one came for a long time to save him, to find out where he was. And that car crushing him, he eventually succumbed to it and died, which is very sad. But how are you going to deal with this character in the next movie? Well, these deep fake videos will be able to fix that. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And for very expensive, very powerful entities can fake that you said something or did something, and it will look like you did it. I mean, you can see some news organizations creating news where you get in a street fight, or you say some racist dialogue that you never said, but with a deep fake video, you can. So we're entering a very, very dangerous time, legally, and the ramifications of, people are saying that Donald Trump said we should stop hurricanes with nuclear bombs. We know this not to be true. This is a fake news story. But guess what? It doesn't have to be. If you know how to run those deep fake videos, you can have him saying it. He's been around a long time. Those people put different faces on different bodies. You would just have to change his lips a little bit to say, like, yeah, we should throw nuclear bombs at, what do you call it? At hurricanes to stop them. I don't even know if that would work. Maybe we should do a tiny, small one that doesn't hurt the population around them. If it can stop a hurricane, I don't know if it can. I don't know if it's all bullshit. Okay, enough. Deepfake videos are scary, but very entertaining to watch. Speaking of nuclear bombs, Elon Musk wants to nuke Mars. It seems that Musk is still thinking about the idea. This is because he tweeted about the same idea and also information that t-shirts will this concept be soon available. Most of the scientists seems to be against the idea of terraforming the red planet. They do not feel it's ethical to change the environment of the planet, as it might have its own adaptive living beings. Moreover, there is no guarantee that the strategy will work. What is the strategy? The founder of SpaceX also, owner stated, this would melt the big ice caps on the red planet. This will gradually create a lot of water vapor and carbon dioxide in the planet. These are greenhouse gases which will ultimately heat up the planet and make it more habitable for humans. So I have two thoughts about this. If we're not going to be deterred to go to Mars, and this is just one avenue to make it more habitable for us, then we should do it. No one's there. And and these scientists that say we shouldn't touch other planets, we shouldn't change other planets, these people need to shut up. Figure on fixing Earth, and we'll terraform other planets. These die-hard, bleeding heart people, do they want to bleeding heart on a dead desert planet? They just want it to stay the same. But yet we're affecting our environment, and they want to change it. We don't say, well, why change? Why fix what we're going? Just head off this cliff with global warming. Why are we reversing it? There's certain animals that are living and that will start to live and grow and get bigger and evolve to better species if we keep on allowing global warming exist in our society, but we don't want that, right? We want to curtail that to make it more habitable for humans, right? And other animals that are living now. But if we keep going this directory, certain animals are going to survive, and certain animals are going to die off. It's called natural selection, right? So therefore, we shouldn't do anything about it. No, we're going to change it because at the end of the day, humans want to survive, and we want to make it more habitable for our kids. So I don't understand why they wouldn't want to go to a different planet and try to make it more like Earth, have two Earths, especially that we're how fast we're growing. Some of these places are too saturated, and there are states in our country that will never create a city. They want to keep it urban. They want to keep it suburban. And what if we can create major cities on other planets for those people who like to congregate in cities? I don't want to see another Los Angeles, New York, in Ohio. I don't want to create more cities on Earth, but I wouldn't mind them on different planets. Why not? We should have a city on the moon. Throw a couple million people up there, and a city in Mars in 200 years from now. Put about maybe 1 billion people there. I mean, they'll have the room. So I don't want to hear from these people who don't want to venture out and have humans. I mean, we're going to do things better than we did before. This is not the industrial age human trying to go to Mars and trying to make it habitable. This is a very thoughtful, scientific, capable human race that will terraform Mars and make it habitable, because humans are producing and we need to expand into space. That's what I think. Love it or leave it, man. But this Elon Musk, he's a crazy motherfucker, right? He just wants to blow shit up. I mean, that's exactly how I would be if I had billions of dollars and I had a space agency. If I knew that nuking something would make it more habitable for humans, I'm nuking some shit. And I know the problem is, well, how are we going to get nuclear bombs off the Earth? That's too dangerous. What if the ship crashes and goes down to Earth? No, we can take all the stuff that it needs to make a nuclear bomb, fly it up there, assemble it in space, head to Mars, drop it down, ignite it in the atmosphere. It becomes like an artificial sun, and it melts the ice caps, and carbon monoxide starts getting flowing, and it might not really be habitable until 100 years from that point, but we should be about it. We should be about changing that environment and making it habitable. It's the closest thing that we have towards Earth, and whatever we do to Mars, we'll figure out with other planets. If humans are going to exist, we're going to need to do two things, because a lot of places that might be able to support life are really far away. Mars is close enough that we could run to it in case something catastrophic happens. Say if a giant meteor or Yosemite blows up. This will kill off the human race as much any other kind of life, and it'll take about maybe 1 million years. Not 1 million years. It would take about maybe 1,000 years for it to be habitable again, till all the dust settles. Well, what do we do then? If we know something's coming, something's happening, we can't stop it, we start creating all these ships and habitats. We start sending stuff to Mars. If we had to do it now, we start sending tons of places, and probably only the most talented and the most smartest and the most capable will be able to keep on living and be able to survive on Mars. And if we can get the ball rolling towards inhabitable, to terraforming Mars, we should do it. Now here's a scary thought, and this is going to be something we need to talk about with all seriousness. Joining the Borg. Scientists merging your brain with AI would basically be suicide. Elon Musk hopes his startup Neuralink will soon help heal people with neurological disorders and even eventually compete with super intelligent artificial general intelligence. But that's not such a good idea, some cognitive psychologist Susan Schindler, in fact, she wrote this week in an op-ed in the Financial Times that projects could amount to suicide for humans. To make sure that humanity is neither conquered nor left behind by future AI, Musk plans to merge human brain with computers that would turbo boost our intelligence. But the doctor, a researcher at University of Pacific, argues the merging of your brain with machines could amount to accidentally killing yourself. You could augment your intelligence with a chip, but there will be a point in which you end your life. I call this horrific event brain drain. Okay. So basically she's saying, as we start to merge certain parts of our brains, if we start to, you see, our brain is the most intelligent, it's the most creative, most awesome thing in the universe, as far as we know at this point. And I believe God created it, whether he created it in a second or he evolved it through time. It is what differentiates us from anything else. But it has problems. It dies, it goes old, and it loses its ability to be useful. So imagine if we can take certain parts of the brain and put something artificial in there that does the same job, but still keeps it functional and new. Well, she's saying there's an eventual end where we'll start replacing everything, and we'll start merging our minds with AI systems, and slowly but surely we will be pushing ourselves out of our brain, and we wouldn't know the difference. And eventually, who you were is gone, and you have this synthetic of what you were. It's a scary thought. I know there's certain pieces of the brain that they were able to replace in mice, in artificial, and it worked the same way. I think it had something to do with motor ability in the mice's body, and they took that piece of the brain out of the mice and they put in some synthetic that would work just as well, and it did, and it worked well. We will be seeing that people who have brain damage in car crashes, that they'll be able to replace those damaged parts with artificial parts and still keep who you are, and which is amazing. It's going to save people's lives, and those who merge with AI will be more competitive in this new brave world. But what if your personality would definitely change if you have an AI enhancing who you are? We don't know the changes you will have psychologically, physically. And you become this other thing, this other person, meld with artificial intelligence, and that the person who you were is no longer exist because you're dealing with more information. If I gave you Einstein's intelligence, you will not act, you would not feel the same way about your life as you do now, of how you look at things. Let alone artificial intelligence taking over. And you willfully let it taken over because you love the information. You love being fully informed. Slowly pushing out, and they slowly start taking bits of your brain out, and eventually there's nothing of you left. And she says this is virtual suicide. It's called brain drain. It's a scary thought. And but with the enticement of immortal life, living a long time, no one can live forever. The universe is going to eventually die, and who would want to live for trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of years? But you might want to live for 1,000 years. And maybe if you can sleep every 100 years, you can live to like 6,000 years. If we can heal, if the body could hibernate, because, like 200 years of being alive might be overwhelming for the brain. Sort of how vampires do it. They after a while, they just can't take it, and they do this sleep thing. I think it was like a couple movies like that, Underworld, and the Vampire Diaries, that being alive too long, it's an effect psychologically on the vampire's mind. And they put them to sleep for about 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. They come back in this new society, and everything's brand new to them. But the process of going through all that for a long time, seeing people come and go and dying, so maybe we could live for, 100,000 years, because our brain is synthetic and our consciousness can be downloaded. And as long as we are sure that it is us being downloaded, it is me being downloaded, that I can transfer into a different brain, a different body, a clone body, with an artificial mind that gets that houses who you are, that can basically house the soul. If we can quantify what that is, then we'll just have this artificial brain just dumped into a new clone body. That is us. So, it's a brave new world. And please, if you have any thoughts about this, please comment how you see it. So I'm going to end it right there, folks. Got an announcement, and it's only for those who dare to listen to the end. As you know, I like talking about politics, and I like talking about futurism, and I'm a life coach. And I also like talking about opera and all the fun things. But, I get paralyzed on what I want to say in this podcast because my mind's in too many different things. And I'm thinking I'm getting way behind telling people about politics, and politics is virtually an everyday thing. So is futurism, and I never get to talk to people about mindsets and modalities and of what it means to be successful and following through on your decisions. And which is a very hard thing, something I still struggle with every day. And you need help, and you need people to push you, and you need and you need to be accountable to people. So my solution is that I'm going to take the James Salazar Media podcast to comment about pop culture, and mindsets and modalities and self-help and self-development. I'm going to create another podcast solely dedicated to politics, and another podcast solely dedicated to futurism. So every week you can get a full load of futurism. Maybe every other day or maybe twice a week you'll get something have to do with politics, because our politics is so divisive and so something new is happening every day, and it's the content is always there. I never have a problem with content. I just don't know what to say. I always have to limit myself. So and let me tell you a problem I've been having. I've been making podcasts and I go so far. They're so long, and I go, man, the news cycle has passed already, and I end up throwing it out. So I need to do more concise podcasts separate from the James Salazar Media podcast. And so I will definitely inform you when those new podcasts come out. And it's going to take time, and I want them to be successful, and I want them to be... and I want people to listen to it. So there's definitely hiccups and stumbling blocks when it came to the James Salazar media by not taking advantage of certain ways of starting a podcast that I hope to remedy with the other two. And as those two get better, we can draw more people to the James Salazar Media podcast. But we're going to keep this podcast, the James Salazar Media podcast, talking about what it means to be successful. What does it mean to have emotional intelligence in this society that is really losing emotional intelligence? The major thing right now is emotional intelligence, and all life coaching and everything you see in the news and TV and movies is telling you that people have the lack of emotional intelligence. And how do people get emotional intelligence? They have to control their mind. And how do they control their mind? How they can be someone who doesn't react, but someone who thinks, pauses, and makes an informed decision on how to react to something, or whether to react to something at all. These are the things we're going to talk about. So, my friends, you can follow me on any of the social media platforms. I'm on Pinterest. You can check out my pins. I have very creative boards up there by subject. You also can follow me on Instagram. I haven't posted in a while. I'm going to start posting a lot more. It's going to be more focused. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. I'm going to start being more active on those. But mostly on Facebook and Instagram, I will start posting a lot more, and I hope that you follow. Just type your name, just type James Salazar Media, and I should come up. For those who are in the LA Basin, I'm in Opera Rigoletto. I am the Duke, and that should be going up in November. I will give you more information, a link to that in the show notes. So, my friends, if the storm of life come against you and you find yourself on your knees, stand up, stand tall, take a look at that storm and say what my sensei Jack Burton always says: give me your best shot. Strike the music.